Playoffs? Yes, the NFL playoffs are in sight. It is NFL Week 14. It is the home stretch here. And don't worry, there is still plenty of money to be made. Welcome to our NFL Week 14 Best Bets episode. Welcome, football fans, to another edition of the Degen Docs here on the DFSG Plus channel. What is up, folks? NFL Week 14. We can't wait to get back in your ear holes because we absolutely crushed it last week. What's up, folks? I am the Doc here, and more importantly, I am joined by my brother in degeneracy, Mr. Derek Bennett, aka Professor Locks. How we doing tonight, brother?
Betting wise, great. Fandom wise, the only reason why I'm wearing this right now is because it was the closest sweatshirt to my office here.
I completely understand that. I also will say you did cash off those Steelers because you
True.
bet against them. So if your team's
That's
going to
true.
suck, at least
Hedged my fandom a little bit last
at
year.
least you can make money. I did not
Correct.
learn my lesson. But listen, folks, hey, if this is your first time joining us, cheers to you. Welcome to the NFL Week 14 Best Bets and Props episode. We've been rocking all year. And of course, if you've been rocking with us every episode, double cheers to you. Double fist, do whatever you got to do to give yourself a little pat on the back because we appreciate you, folks. Good time to smash that like button if you want and to subscribe if you're new here. But hey, if we got to earn your trust, just wait because we are giving out some winners just like last week. The way this show is going to go down with the NFL show, we're talking a little bit of banter up top, tell you the bye weeks, do a little record recap. But we are going to quickly get into our props of the week. The three props we're each going to give out. Derek and I will each give out 3. 5-1 last week. Only one loser there. Then we'll give out our, what we like to call around here, Doc's prescriptions, our locks, bets we feel so good about. We are prescribing them to you. We'll each give out 4 a piece. Think money line, total, spread, type those. And then we will do a Degen play. Of course, we have our Degen plays, both 20-1 and over this week. And then finally, a Thursday night football preview between the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys here. All right, brother, before we get into all of that, man, I hope you and all the listeners had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know the dogs had a great Thanksgiving. All of the dogs on Thanksgiving, the Packers, who are a 3.5-point underdog, the Chiefs, who are, the Cowboys, who are a 3.5-point dog, and then the Bengals, who are a 7-point dog there.
Yep.
All coming home on the money line, all 2 road teams and a home dog there in the Cowboys.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the Thanksgiving slate, man? Pretty big games when we talk about the playoff race.
Yeah, dogs were eating very well as I did on Thanksgiving.
There you go.
I think as a whole, we had a couple division matchups, and division matchups tend to be tight, especially this time of year. I was really expecting the Lions to come out and try to smack the Packers around a little bit after getting absolutely obliterated in week 1. That did not happen. I don't know exactly what's going on with that Lions offense or especially the cornerback position. They just tend to get eaten alive anytime these days. And then the Ravens, I mean, there was some, I think there was at least 1, if not 2 touchdowns called back. You had Isaiah Likely fumbling on the goal line, like
5 turnovers.
5 turnovers. Yeah, they just do not look like the Ravens that we all expected coming into the season. I mean, defensively, they don't look like themselves. And then the Chiefs are just, they're on a downhill slide like no other.
Yep. Yeah, no, a lot of teams now, Ravens, Chiefs, Lions, maybe Bills in very desperate spots.
Yeah.
Not what people expected at this point in the season. But I have a question. Team that record-wise is very good, and someone who I was heavy on in the futures market and has done me well so far, the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Are the Denver Broncos good? Now, this is even an outdated graphic. They, on Sunday night, needed overtime and a failed 2-point conversion to beat the 3-9 or whatever they are, Washington Commanders.
Right.
In 10 games this season, at the point where this was taken a couple weeks ago, they had trailed in every single game. If you look at all the other teams that have done that, not so great on the record. Obviously, with this being updated, they did trail at some point last week. I know that.
Yep,
Just one of those, they play a ton of close games, right? I
they
think is
do.
the general takeaway. And they
Yeah,
seem to play down to their competition.
they sure do.
Are the Broncos good? Is my question to you.
I think, and this is kind of odd saying this with a Sean Payton led team, but I think their defense is rock solid. Their
Mhm.
offense struggles from time to time.
Yeah.
I think Bo Nix at the end of the day, he's an older second year quarterback, but he's still a second year quarterback. And
Yeah.
from a receiving standpoint, I thought Evan Ingram, and I think you did too, coming
Yeah.
into the season was going to really light it up out there. He hasn't done that at all.
Yeah.
You have Cortland Sutton on the outside. Troy Franklin's come on a little bit from time to time throughout the season, but they don't have that premier 1-2 punch at wide receiver. Evan Ingram hasn't been the answer at tight end. J.K. Dobbins has been in and
Yeah.
out of the lineup from the
Well,
running
he's
back
out.
position.
Right.
And, they just haven't gotten anything going offensively. They just get enough, each game.
Yeah, I think this is one of those teams where come playoff time, I mean, if they're at home, it might be a little bit different of a story because
Yep.
they're setting up to be that way. But man, this is going to be an interesting team to figure out if we're going to be backing or
Yeah,
fading.
I think it all comes down to like that old saying, like good teams win, great teams cover. I don't think this is a great team by any stretch.
Right.
I think it's a great defense. At
Right.
the end of the day, I think they're going to be in about every game that they play. But are they going to be able to win in the playoffs? That's the big question, like you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like there really isn't many great teams this season is kind of
Right.
the theme here.
Yeah.
All right, bye weeks is last week of buys here in the NFL. NFL
About
week
time.
14. We got 4 teams on bye, 3 playoff contenders, and 1 absolute dog shit team in my New York Giants. You got the Carolina Panthers, New England Patriots, New York Giants, and the San Francisco 49ers. 3 teams gearing up for a playoff race to get healthy, and 1 team hopefully finding their GM and cleaning house in the regime there. We will see. But hey, I touched on it, and I want to get back to it. NFL Week 13 recap. Man, we crushed it. Thanksgiving,
Oh, yeah.
you had yourself a little bit of a day. It was kind of meh overall for the show, but
Started off hot and then slowed down a little bit in the late game. Not
right.
expecting the Bengals to come out and put it on the Ravens, but
Hey, but those props, 5-1 on the props last week. I was 3-0. You were 2-1. And that included some plus monies. I know I hit a plus 155 anytime touchdown.
yeah,
with
I think
Tom
the only one I
guy.
missed was a +3 or +400. I
Yeah, it
can't
was a
remember.
Jackson Dart 3-1
Yeah.
anytime touchdown. So even there, a little bit of a long shot there. And then the locks, my friend. Shout out to you going 4-0, full sweep of the locks, man.
Yep.
That is just starting to hit the stride. 2-2 because I put some faith in my Giants. Unfortunately, don't know why I did that. But and the Colts
seeing the board fairly well. I mean, the locks came through very nicely last week, and then I will say little props to myself: 7-2 over the last 3 weeks on the props market. So
there you go.
Looking pretty good props wise, and then locks came through last week.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think I went 2-1 on the props last thing. So we're
So.
really hitting the props, and the locks are going pretty damn well.
Yep.
I will not be trusting Daniel Jones and the Giants anymore. That's where I learned my lesson. All right,
Daniel Jones and the Giants, huh?
well, separately.
Separately.
But yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. But hey, it's time to get the lasers focused for this week because we're moving forward and looking to our props of the week for NFL Week 14. We're each going to give out 3 here. My friend, you have the honors. Who do you got going first here?
Yeah, I'm just feeling a little bit down in the dumps this week when it comes to the props. I got a couple unders to start with. We're going to start with an under and a guy that's an absolute stud. Give me Jonathan Taylor's under rushing yards against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The number right now is sitting at 93.5. Jacksonville hasn't given up over 70 yards to a running back all year. I don't necessarily think that's going to change on the road for Jonathan Taylor. And I think that offensive line has looked a little bit suspect over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So give me Jonathan Taylor's under 93.5 at -110.
Yeah, I like that for a couple different reasons we'll get into. But yeah, Jags have the number 1 rush defense in the NFL at this point, in yards per game. So I do like that play. I'm going to go from you're fading one of the top rushers. I'm going to back one of the top rushers, the guy who's second in the league in rush yards, James Cook. I'm going to go over 96.5 yards over at Bet365, -110. It's a high number, but
Yeah.
Bengals, second worst rush defense in the league. James Cook has hit this number in 4 out of his last 6 games. He went for 144 against Pittsburgh and 116 against Houston, only on 17 carries there. And he did that last week without 2 of his starting tackles. Now
Yep.
they're both practicing on Wednesday, expected to be back. This is still the Bengals. As much as they came out and looked better, they still gave up 6 yards of rush to Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
The Ravens just got away from it with all the turnovers and things like that. Game kind of got away from him. I think in Buffalo, in some elements there, I think that they are going to lean on James Cook there, and I really like for him to have a day. So give me James Cook. I know it's a high number, but still not afraid of it. Over 96.5 rush yards, minus 110.
Yeah.
Where are you taking me to in your Debbie Downer streak here?
Yeah, I'm gonna get another rushers under. This time a backup, I guess, kind of backup running back, but Tyjae Spears there for the Tennessee Titans.
Right.
They're going up against Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. We know what that Browns defense looks like at home. I mean, it's absolutely insane how good they play, especially against the running game. And in general, I think that Tyjae Spears is a receiving threat out of the backfield. Over the last few weeks, he's had 6 receptions, 4 receptions, 5 receptions. He's averaging 4.5 receptions each game, but he hasn't been a part of this running game hardly at all. I mean, he had 2 carries last week for a negative -1 yard, 3 carries the week before for 4 yards, 4 carries for 3. We'd have to go back to October, basically, to have a week where he clearly covered this number. He covered it by half a yard way back on the 2nd of November. So, yeah, give me Tyjae Spears under 25.5 rushing yards at minus 110.
Yeah, I really like that one. That's a really good play. Browns rush defense, especially at home, is pretty nasty. So I like that play. Nice. All right, I'm gonna go to fading another stud running back here. Earmuffs for your Steelers fandom, man. Derrick Henry over 82.5 rush yards, minus 111 there. It's over at DraftKings. Here's the biggest thing. He's only 2 to 5 for this number in the past, obviously 5 games, but no Derek Harmon. First round pick for the Steelers, already been rolled out by Mike Tomlin this week. The splits with and without Harmon for that rush defense is kind of insane for one guy who's a rookie. But it's very true. And then you have Patrick Queen, who got knocked out of the game last week. He wasn't practicing today. He's got a chance. They said it was a low back bruise. They put him on there with the glute. He's got a chance, but obviously he's going to be banged up. And then TJ Watt also not practicing. He got his foot stepped on. I think he'll be out there, but still enough to where he's not practicing a day. But really, it's the Harmon, and it's going to Baltimore. And Baltimore, I think they're going to try to get back to the roots there. And, I mean, we know Lamar generally struggles against the Steelers. So if they, who doesn't, is Derrick Henry. Just look at that playoff game last year where he was running all over them. So it's a lower number for him, 82.5. It's still a high number, but it's either kind of he's boom or bust this year, and I think this is a boom game. So, give me Derrick Henry over 82.5 rush yards, minus 111 over at DraftKings. What is prop number 3 for you?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the same game. And you just mentioned Lamar Jackson tends to struggle against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I am going to take one of his overs in this game. But like I said, I am a Debbie Downer when it comes to the props this week. So I'm going to take Lamar Jackson over a half interception at plus 125. Getting plus money for a guy that's thrown 3 picks in the last 3 weeks. And facing the Steelers, he's thrown 9 picks in the last 6 games that he's played against them. He hasn't gone a game in the past 6 games against the Steelers without throwing a pick. I think that streak continues. Give me Lamar Jackson over a half interception at plus 125.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of talked about it for a while here on the show. It's his struggles against the Steelers, and he's obviously pressing.
His quarterback rating against the Steelers is dramatically low compared to basically any other team outside of the playoff playoff game. Whenever they play him last, which was 115. He basically averages like 70 quarterback rating. He's just not very good.
Yeah, no, they clearly have him kind of figured out there, and he's been struggling this year. So I like it, especially at plus money there. All right, a guy I usually like to back, but I'm going to be fading this week, and kind of, not a full fade, but just kind of with the number. Baker Mayfield under 219.5 passing yards, -110 over at Bet365. He's only gone over this in 1 out of his last 5 games. I mean, he
Right.
started off the season on a tear, going
Red
crazy
hot.
with the
Yeah.
passing yards, passing touchdowns, and he's just been cooled off. Whether it's been
Those
to the
receivers are beat up, man.
yeah, right. I mean, hey, look, Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan are back at practice, but most of the Buckeyes have been taking a week to ramp up. And it's ultimately going against the Saints team that's better against the pass than they are the run.
Yeah.
I think, Bucky Irving, Sean Tucker, Rashad White. I think the Bucks, honestly, last time they played, it was a 23-3 game. Baker only threw the ball 24 times and had 152 yards passing. Like, game script wise, I don't think they're going to need him to be throwing the ball a ton. I don't think it's smart. I think they save those wide receivers to come back next week, make sure they're fully healthy. The Saints, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, and their left tackle Fuaga are all not practicing. Now they could play, but they're obviously banged up. So this isn't even a healthy Saints team. I think the Bucks can handle them. They had one, if not 2 defensive touchdowns last time they played them. I know it's Spencer Rattler, but Tyler Shuck hasn't looked that much better. So game script wise and just Baker, he's got the shoulder injury and the wide receivers. I think 219 is way too high. So again, only hit this one in the last 5 games. Give me Baker Mayfield under 219.5 pass yards at -110. As a recap to our props of the week for Professor Locks there, Jonathan Taylor under 93.5 rush yards against the Jaguars, +1 rush defense in the NFL. Tajay Spears under 25.5 rush yards against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Lamar Jackson over half an interception, +125 against the Steelers, who seem to have his number. James Cook over 96.5 rush yards, -110 against the Bengals. Second worst rush defense. Tackles coming back there for Buffalo. Derrick Henry over 82.5 rush yards, -111 against Steelers defense that is beat up all over the place. And Baker Mayfield under 219.5 pass yards against the Saints team. Just don't think they're going to need Baker to sling the rock as much as some other games coming up. All right, we are moving on to what we like to call around here, Doc's prescriptions, our best bets. And coming off a 6-2 week, they were prescribing and making you money. We're hoping to do the same this week. My friend, you will start us off. What is one of your locks of the week?
Yeah, I got a division matchup, and with a team that we've already talked about in the Denver Broncos. I think this is a spot where Denver's going to get up for this game against the Raiders, who they beat just about a month ago in Denver.
Right.
It was a close game. Denver's offense struggled, their special teams struggled. They won 10-7. Like we mentioned before, they play in a lot of close games. I think the Broncos put it on the Raiders. The Raiders are not a good team. And the Raiders just like to turn the ball over against a feasting Denver Broncos defense. Like I mentioned before, it's probably one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best. So, give me the Denver Broncos laying the 7.5 on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders, who, they just give up points left and right.
Yeah. No, I like it. I do and I don't. It's like the Broncos, I want to trust them, but the Raiders are really, really, really,
And I think that's part of like the gambling instincts talking to me a little bit. Everybody's been talking about the Denver Broncos. They're just playing close games. They just win by 2 to 3 points every week. I think they put it on them this time, like they did, a few weeks ago against Dallas.
No, definitely a bit of a fate of the public and contrarian. I do not hate that because I'm going to give out a very ugly play in my own regard, and I'll just get this one out right away. Tennessee Titans +4. That's over at Bet365 -110.
Okay.
Who are the Shador-led Cleveland Browns to be laying 4 points against anybody?
Yeah.
Look, I know their defense is better at home, but they're still only 2-4.
Yep.
And in one of those games, they only won by 3 against the Packers early
Okay.
on there. This is the big thing here is the Browns defensive line is beat up. Their offensive tackle, Jack Conklin, no practice with a concussion. He's likely out. Wyatt Teller with the calf not practicing. He's likely not going to be there. Their defensive line, McGuire, Wright, Huntington, they're all a little bit beat up. I know you got to worry about Myles Garrett, but Justin Simmons is a pretty damn good player out as well. And I think that, look, the weather is not going to be extremely crazy. And I just think it's a situation where the Titans realize they can actually win this game, which doesn't always happen, right? So I think that, their one win, it came on the road against the Cardinals earlier in the year. I think this is a get-up spot for them. I think Shador is also really bad.
Yeah. And I think it does play a role with like that rookie quarterback versus rookie quarterback. One
Yeah.
going 1 overall. One was supposed to go 2, 3 overall and
Hmm.
slid all the way to the 6th round. I
Yeah.
think Cam Ward wants to get this one pretty bad.
Yeah, and I think Shadir's going to press a little bit, and that's going to lead
Yeah.
to some turnovers here. This is going to be an ugly, ugly game.
Yes.
But in an ugly game, I think that you're giving me more than a field goal. I'm going to take the underdog there in the Tennessee Titans. All
Yeah.
right, where are you going
I like that
next?
one. Yeah, I got another big spread or bigger spread to talk about. Give me the Los Angeles Rams in kind of a get up spot here against the Arizona Cardinals in another division win or division matchup. You know, the Rams played a tough Carolina Panthers team this past week.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think they're coming closer to home once again. You know, I mentioned last week how they hadn't gone off the West Coast for basically a month and a half. Well, they're getting back out there. And I think that the Rams offense is just, it's still humming. You know, Matthew Stafford threw a couple picks this past week. I don't expect him to do that again. So yeah, give me the Rams laying the 7.5 against the Cardinals on the road.
Yeah, I looked at this one pretty heavily. This one was very close to making my locks. I think they bounced back. I think the Cardinals are a little bit dead,
Yeah.
even with Brissett. I just think that the Rams know we can't mess around with these teams.
Yes.
We gotta really kind of get after. And it's a dome. They're gonna, they're
Yeah.
not having to worry
Yeah.
about a lot of the weather last week was kind of causing them some issues there
Yep.
with Stafford and and obviously the passing game. So no, I like that play a lot. All right, since you're doing it, I'm going to follow suit. Let's go with another big spread here. Big favorite, Seattle Seahawks -7, -105 over on DraftKings. They are at the Atlanta Falcons this week. This Falcons team is just terrible. I mean, Kirk Cousins
Yeah.
they lost to the Jets. Kirk Cousins is a shell of
Not good.
himself. I don't think Drake London goes again. You keep calling him day to day, but he's not practicing with that
Yep.
PCL injury. That's a serious injury. It's so hard to come back from.
Yep.
The Seattle Seahawks are getting healthier in their defense, which is scary.
Yep.
Julian Love and Jaron Reed are both back at practice. Activated their practice window from the IR. We'll see if they play, but this defense is nasty without them. They're the second best rush defense in the NFL. So
Yep.
now we're saying that Kirk Cousins has to beat them. I smell turnovers. I smell defensive touchdowns.
Yep.
And this is what the Seahawks do, man. They beat up on bad teams by margin.
Definitely.
Let's see. They beat they beat the Vikings last week 26-0. They beat Arizona by 22. They beat Washington by 20 plus.
Yep.
That's kind of their MO. I know they Titans kind of backdoored in the game. They were up big, but
Right.
I don't think I think the more Kirk Cousins throws the ball, the worse it is for the Falcons. So
Yeah.
give me Seattle to cover the big number -7 there.
Yeah, that's one that I also looked at pretty heavily, and I like that play. I'll probably be on that one as well. My final one, and I think it's your final one, or no?
No, you
We
got
still have
two
one
more.
more. We still got we got 2 more. That's right. Let me talk about the Sunday night game. Texans at Chiefs. Talk about another team that plays in a lot of close games, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. You know,
Yeah.
over the past 4 weeks, they lost by 3, they won by 3, they lost by 3, they lost by 7. So I think even, you know, with the Chiefs losing 3 of the last 4, they play in close games. And if you're going to give me the Houston Texans, who have won 4 straight, if you're giving me 3.5 points, I'll take that on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs that's kind of reeling at this point. So, you know, I think it really just comes down to, you know, CJ Stroud was a little bit rusty last week coming off of the 3 weeks before dealing with that concussion thing.
Yeah.
I think he continues to bounce back. And I just think that Kansas City's offense has really kind of been struggling. And the Houston defense, again, rock solid. They
Yeah.
fly all over the place. So give me the Houston Texans in the 3.5 on the road.
Yeah. Big note, Josh Simmons, left tackle for the Chiefs, put on IR. He may be done for the season with the wrist surgery there.
Right.
That offensive line, a couple guys were not practicing today. Man, I looked at this game hard. I was thinking of going the other way, but that hook, these Chiefs don't win by margin, right?
Nope.
Even if they're going to win the game, I think getting that 3.5.
Yeah, I looked at it at +3, I think over bet 365 at even money, and I ended up going ahead and taking the hook because I think that might be the difference there.
Yeah, I think it could definitely be a field goal game. That's just kind of the way this team is kind of playing, whether they win or lose,
Right.
like you mentioned. All right, one of my last plays here. Let's go to a division rivalry, and we're going to be talking about Those Chicago Bears, the Bears that I was heavily on in the offseason, and they've already hit their win total, and they're well on their way to winning me a good amount of money here.
Yeah.
This is a huge game in the division. Give me the Bears plus 6.5 in Lambeau at the Packers here. 18 degrees, cold weather game. I think the Bears are very well suited to be in this game, if not win outright. When you look at the Packers here, the games that they've lost, specifically Carolina and the Browns, right? Carolina in Lambeau and then at the Browns. What were those teams able to do? They were able to establish the run and then take advantage of turnovers, right? I think this is the MO for the Chicago Bears. We saw them do it against the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. They ran for 200 plus yards with Swift and Monangai. Look, this is a good Packers defense. It's not going to be easy, but you can run on them. And they just lost their defensive tackle, Devontae Wyatt, likely for the season. He's a big boy. He's hard to replace in the middle. The Bears are getting some linebackers back. Both TJ Edwards and Noah Sewell, who had missed multiple weeks, are both practicing. And they got some guys back in the secondary. This is, they lead the league in interceptions. Jordan Love loves to throw off his back foot and float that ball into danger. So give me the Bears to establish the run, to make this a close, grinded out game, and then Jordan Love to throw one of his patented interceptions. And I think that does the deal. So 6.5. I think is a little bit outrageous. I understand this Packers defense is good, but again, no Tucker Kraft is huge. They've got all these wide receiver twos, but not having their tight end one, I think, is a huge deal. So I'm on the Bears here. I think this number is way too big.
Yeah, no, that's another one that I looked at pretty heavily, and I'll probably put that one in the personal portfolio as well. Last one, since I know the graphics, I also know that you're on this one as well. Let's talk about the Jags and Colts game. Yeah. So, in my opinion, I mean, these are two teams that are going in completely different directions, right? I mean, the Jags have won 4 out of 5. The only game that they've lost is to Houston Texans on that Davis Mills last second scramble for a touchdown.
Yeah.
The Jags have been playing pretty well as of late, and the Colts have lost 3 of the last 4, and honestly haven't looked great. I mean, it took overtime to win in or against Atlanta in Indy there, and this one's on the road. And I don't know necessarily why the Jags are getting 2.5 here when they have the best rushing defense in the league. The Colts offense was looking great when Jonathan Taylor was rushing for 150 yards every game. Since Danny Dimes has started to have to do a little bit up there in Indy, they haven't looked as good.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah, I'm on it with you. Jags plus 2.5, minus 115. They're over on DraftKings. Daniel Jones dealing with that fibula injury. He's obviously playing through it, but that is something to note for if that's going to get re-aggravated and he has to leave because he's not been great, but he's definitely their bbest option. And then the big thing is the Jags have the best rush defense in the NFL. So if you can bottle up Jonathan Taylor, that makes that offense.
And even if he goes out, I mean, I can't. Nobody can trust AR's arm. He'd have to run the ball, and I think this Jacksonville defense
at this point, Richardson has negative confidence. I don't think he would come in and do very well. And then no Sauce Gardner. He's going to be out for this game, not put on the IR, but it's going to be out like 2 to 3 weeks there with calf strain. And that's big. That they clearly identified a hole in their team, which was their pass defense. They are not good against the pass. And the guy they went to go fix that is not going to be out there. So, I've got another play kind of revolving around that as well. But Brenton Strange is back for this offense for the Jags. Like you said, 2 teams going in different directions. I love the Jaguars here. All right, let's do a little bit of a recap for Professor Locks. He's on a couple of heavy favorites here. The Denver Broncos minus 7.5, minus 108. They've got the Rams minus 7.5 against the Cardinals there in the Dome. Broncos playing against the Las Vegas Raiders. And then the Houston Texans plus 3.5 in Kansas City against the Chiefs. And the Jaguars plus 2.5 as home dogs against the Indianapolis Colts. For myself, I'm also on Jacksonville plus 2.5. I'm on Tennessee plus 4 up in Cleveland there in the Cam Ward versus Shadir Sanders show. Chicago Bears plus 6.5 up in Lambeau, and Seattle Seahawks minus 7 against the Atlanta Falcons and the Fighting Kirk Cousins. My friend, it's time to get a little bit degenerate here, I believe. So let's get into our Degen plays of the week, both over 20 to 1. So I'm excited to hear this. Where are you taking us?
Yeah, I got a little pizza bet for you, and part of it you've kind of already mentioned the game script that I'm looking for down there in New Orleans with the Bucks. I think Bucky Irving came back and had himself a little bit of a day last
Yeah.
week. I think he does again just because, we mentioned before, Baker Mayfield has been struggling as of late. The wide receivers are beat up. I think Bucky Irving gets in the end zone at least twice in this one. So give me Bucky Irving 2+ touchdowns. And I think Cortland Sutton's due to have himself a little bit of a day. And I
Yeah.
think that Bo Nix finds him early and often. Cortland Sutton, 80+ receiving yards, I think is a good one here. So Bucky Irving, 2+ touchdowns. Cortland Sutton, 80+ receiving yards for a nice 21.50.
Yeah, no, against that Raiders pass defense, that's what's to do it. And yeah, I like both these here. I mean, Bucky Irving got the majority of the carries in his
Yep.
first game back, so I only expect that to go up there. So Bucky Irving 2+ touchdowns, Cortland Sutton 80+ receiving yards, 21 to 1, actually almost 22 to 1 there, plus 21.50. For myself, I'm going to take you to the Jacksonville game first, man. I talked about this Indianapolis pass defense that no Sauce Gardner. It's been limited, not a great, something they tried to address, and then the guy they brought in to address it no longer there. They're a bottom 6 pass defense, giving up 245+ yards. Give me Jacoby Myers, 90+
Yep.
receiving yards. This is over at Bet365. It's plus 475 by itself. He just had 90 yards last week. He's had 90 yards twice this season. I think that he's becoming Trevor Lawrence, one of his favorite targets.
Yeah.
And Parker Washington, a guy that Trevor Lawrence likes to throw to, is not practicing and got knocked out of the game last week. So it kind of elevates him in the pecking order. I know he's got Strange and he's still got Brian Thomas, but Jacoby Myers is quietly becoming one of his favorite targets there against a team that they can throw on. And then give me 9 JJ McCarthy. 250+ passing yards, plus 425 there. I know what you're thinking. What the hell are you thinking? Well, Washington has the second worst pass defense in the NFL. They're giving up over 250 yards on average a game. I also see Jaden Daniels potentially coming back in this one. Washington's going to be able to score some points, so it could be a little bit of a shootout there. McCarthy has gotten close to this number. He got 248 passing yards against the Ravens defense. That's not very good, and they had to come down or try to come from behind. I see a very similar game script. In 2 of the last 3 games, this Washington Commanders defense has given up over 300 yards. He gave up 300 yards to Bo Nix, who isn't exactly the most prolific, doesn't really rack up the stats in that way. So I understand that you cannot be lower on JJ McCarthy stock-wise, right?
Yep.
And I think we get a good number to take advantage of this here, purely because he's still got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Naylor, Hawkinson. I think he literally saw on the sidelines, well, shit, Brosmer is terrible. I can't be worse than this. So let's sling the rock here a little bit. So give me Jacoby Myers, 90+ receiving yards, and JJ McCarthy, 250+ passing yards at a nice almost 30 to 1 plus 2,918. Those are the Degen plays of the week. And now for the time where we break down
Night football.
the Thursday night football preview. We've got the Dallas Cowgirls heading up to the Detroit Lions there.
Yep.
Logos are a little bit flipped here, but we've got Dallas catching the 3 there as the road underdogs. They're plus 140 on the money line. Over-under sitting at 54.5. And then Detroit is laying 3 at home. They are minus 166 on the money line. Over-under sitting at 54.5. Huge game there in the NFC. Both these teams are, I think I saw something that there's a 25% chance flip in their playoff percentages with this game, right? There's a couple this week, but Dallas 6-5-1, Detroit 7-5. This is huge if both these teams want to make the playoffs here. So I will go through their injuries briefly, and then Derek's going to give us the initial breakdown, and then we'll give out plays and get the hell out of here. Dallas Cowgirls, 2 guys rolled out. Left tackle Tyler Guyton with a high ankle. Cornerback Trayvon Diggs, who is close to returning off IR with the knee, still not back yet. 2 guys questionable. Jadeveon Clowney, who's their current leader in sacks with a hamstring. He was practicing a little bit. And then Malik Hooker, also limited in practice with a back. So those guys have a shot to go, but are questionable. Over on the Detroit side, they've ruled out. They're both their tight ends. Brock Wright, Zane Trystra. We already know Laporta's out. Right? Wide receiver Khalif Raymond is out. So, safety Kirby Joseph is out with the knee. His looked like he re-aggravated that. And then
Yeah.
cornerback Terrion Arnold is out for the season with a shoulder injury. He re-injured multiple times, finally got surgery to kind of fix it for good, but he's out for the season. And they've got a whole bunch of guys questionable. The big one, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, this is rumored to be a grade 2 lower ankle sprain. If it was a grade 1, I'd expect him to be out there. Grade 2, not so much. And if he is, I think he's going to be very limited there. So I'm going to call him more doubtful than questionable.
Agreed.
And then Brian Branch is questionable, who's obviously a huge player. I think he does give it a go with the toe and ankle. But they've got four linemen questionable this week, including left tackle Taylor Decker, right tackle Penei Sewell, center Graham Glasgow, and guard Coyote Owasika. Not good. Even if they all play, clearly hampered and bad. And like the worst part of this team for offense is their offensive line. So this is a major, major red flag in my opinion. I'm curious how you see this going down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know necessarily how to look at either one of these teams, to be honest. I mean, the Cowboys have looked better. I still don't fully trust their defense, although it has been playing better since acquiring
Quentin Williams.
Quentin Williams, thank you. And then on the Detroit side, I mean, both sides of the ball are just as beat up almost as they were last year, which is hard to say, but they have guys ruled out left and right. So I'm going to stay away from a side in this one. But I do like the under 54.5 in this one. I think both teams would really prefer to establish the run, and that's just going to slow the game script down. So give me the under 54.5 in this one.
Yeah, no, I'm actually right there with you with the under. I think it's a huge number. I understand both these offenses can fly.
They can.
But the offensive line injuries on both sides. I mean, you're losing your left tackle for Dallas, and you're potentially going to be at least banged up or out. 4 offensive linemen there for Detroit. That's a huge issue for me. That's the lifeline of an offense, and we've already seen it been impaired this year, and it's going to slow them down. And I do think Dallas is better at stopping the run. There'll be opportunities in the pass game, but this is an extremely high total. So I'm going to under 54.5 as well. I also am going to pick a side. I'm on Dallas plus the 3, and I'm on the Dallas money line plus 140. Cowgirls, as much as I don't like to say it, they look much better. I think that if you can slow down the run with Quinn Williams and Kenny Clark against an impaired offensive line, they also brought back DeMarvion Overshone, some guys in the secondary. I think they're still susceptible, but Noah Monra, likely Noah Monra, no tight end outlet for Jared Goff. We've seen Jared Goff get happy feet when things are not looking good. Also, look, I from the other side, Detroit, they've got some injuries on the, safety cornerback position. That legion of whom they've been calling it, those no-name guys. Kelvin Shepard has done a really good job. That's why I don't think, I'm on the under, because I ultimately don't think either team really gets over 30, 35. But I think both stay in the 20s. And I do like Dallas here. I think that they're playing a lot better. And this Lions team is kind of sliding downward. A lot of these games recently, they needed overtime to beat the lowly Giants. They lost to Philly, who's kind of been reeling. They lost to Minnesota. They lost to Green Bay. Like, really, they've only beaten the terrible Washington Commanders and the terrible New York Giants the past 5 games. So as much as the Lions at home have been a wagon the past couple of years, this is not the same Lions team. So as much as it pains me to say, give me the Cowboys plus 3 and on the money line plus 140. Where are you going prop wise?
Yeah, I mean, to that extent, I think both of these teams basically like play prevent defense from a passing standpoint, because we know how prolific Dallas's passing offense is with CD and George Pickens.
Yeah,
and to this point, Detroit's secondary hasn't been able to stop a whole lot. So I think they just drop everybody back, just try to slow them down as much as they possibly can, which opens up holes for Javonte Williams. I think that, Jared Goff is going to potentially struggle a little bit to find open receivers without potentially Amon-Ra St. Brown, without his top couple tight ends. You still have Jameson Williams there to get the ball down the field, but I do think Jared Goff struggles a little bit, so I'm going to go his under 252.5 passing yards. At the end of the day, somebody has to move the ball up and down the field, and I think especially with the Detroit Lions running backs, I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs can go 60 or 70 yards. just like that.
Yeah.
Even with a beat up offensive line, if they fill, or if they find a hole for one play, Jahmyr Gibbs is gone and nobody's going to catch him.
Right.
So I do think the Detroit Lions rushing game gets going a little bit here. I do think they're going to slow the game down because they might have to.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be a Gibbs or a Montgomery game, so I'm going to go over 125.5 team rushing yards for the Detroit Lions, because the Lions, I think, are just going to kind of step back and try to stop CD and George Pickens as much as they can. I do think this is a tight end game. So Jake Ferguson's over 36.5 receiving yards. And then for the Detroit Lions, I think Ross Dwelly could probably get a reception or two. So I'm going to take his over 13.5 receiving yards as well.
Yeah. No, I like that. I do think the tight ends can get going, and I think Goff finds the tight end, whoever it is.
I do.
For my props here, I like what you were saying about the run games for both these teams, but I'm going to go Javonte Williams over 16.5 rush attempts.
Like
they've made a clear conservative effort to get to the running game. He's hit this in the past 3 games. I think, like you said, they're going to try to slow the game down, and I think that, I think obviously game script, Dallas is playing with a little bit of a lead here. So I think they lean on Javonte Williams, over 16.5 rush attempts, minus 106 there. I'm also dump off city for Jared Goff. So give me Jahmyr Gibbs over 35.5 rush receiving yards, minus 110. I think that, like you mentioned in the running game, same thing in the receiving game. This could be one catch. This could be 1-2 catches if he just finds a hole. I think still Dallas is a little bit susceptible to the big play. Also, Tom Kennedy over 27.5 receiving yards. He's the guy who filled in for Amon-Ra. He had like 4 or 5 catches last week. Clearly, the slot is susceptible for the Dallas Cowgirls there. So definitely. I like that. And then Jameson Williams over longest reception, over 27.5. Just talked about it. The big play is there. He's been very good to this number the past couple of weeks. No Amon-Ra. They're going to make a conservative effort. And since Dan Campbell took over the play calling, it's been down the field. That has really kind of helped this. In a similar vein, give me George Pickens, longest reception, over 28 or 26.5, minus 115 there. The Lions, as much as that Legion of whom or whatever, you're still down 2 starters in the back end. And George Pickens has just been a monster on those long catches this year. So over 26.5, I think he gets there pretty easily. He's been crushing this number. So those are the plays there. What are some of your dart throws as we wrap up?
Yeah, just got a couple anytime touchdowns. I'm going to go to the same 2 tight ends that I'm taking their receiving yards. Give me Jake Ferguson, anytime touchdown at plus 150. I just think he's due. And then give me Ross Dwelly, anytime touchdown at 4-1. I mean, you're down Brock Wright and Laporta. They love throwing to the tight end once they get in the red zone. So give me Dwelly at 4-1.
No, I like that. I like the tight end angle there. They've got to find a way to distribute the ball in other places. My dart throws this week, getting back to the roots. I'm going to the defense. I'm going to the sack prop market, which we've had a lot of success on this season. Look, Jared Goff has taken at least 2 sacks in the past 3 games he's played. Talked about the offensive line struggles and the injury issues. Give me Kenny Clark and Osa Odigizua. Odigizua.
There you go. Osa Odigizua.
Look, 1+ sack. I'm talking about them together because they have the same number. They're both plus 310 there, almost over 3-1. They're both obviously interior defensive linemen. The interior offensive line has been the big problem, whether Glasgow's been out. Mahogany's on the IR. They've had to replace those guys. Rutledge has been okay, but I think there's a clear issue. And Jared Goff, man, he's just been having those happy feet and looking at the pressure, and he's not someone who's very elusive. So once you get him, he's probably going to go down immediately. So I like either of those guys there. I will be playing them both. They're both plus 310. Really, you only need one of those guys to hit, but I'm hoping both do to get us really in a nice spot there. So we are both on the under in this game. We think it's going to be a little bit more focused on the running game. Derek is heavy on the tight ends for both team. I like the Dallas running game, and for Williams and Pickens to have some long receptions there, and Gibbs to get it going in the receiving. For the touchdown market, Derek's on Ferguson and Dwelly at some nice numbers, and I am on Clark and Odigizua in the sack market there. All right, my friends, that is it for NFL Week 15. Nice, quick, and tidy show here. What do you got for the people before we get on out of here?
Oh yeah, we just did the college conference championship episode last night, so definitely want to check that out. We've been kind of crushing over the last couple of weeks, both
Yeah.
NFL and college. So if you want to make some money, might want to check out that video. While you do that, smash that like and subscribe button. You're still doing your injury report tomorrow night for us
Yep.
fantasy nerds that want to get our fantasy lineup set, and it can definitely help in the props market as well. So definitely check that out over on the sister station IDP Plus.
Yeah, fantasy playoffs right around the corner. Last week
Yes,
to kind
sir.
of work your way in, so got to know the injury news there. And yeah, college. Hey, conference championships, and then we got the CFP. So make sure you jump on college because you want to be cashing on football.
Yep.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Oh
You
yeah.
know it's in your blood. So, and you know us at the Degen Docs, we've got you covered here. So all we ask for is just a simple like and subscribe, because we want to keep the show free and we want to make sure the bosses know you guys care at least a little bit of what we're talking about. So, hey, folks, you know what they say. Geez, got to start it over. Okay, hold on.
Oh no.
I know this is the first time this season, so I hope this isn't I hope this is a good omen, not a bad
That's
omen.
right.
But you know what they say: a lock a day keeps the bookie away. And here at the Degen Docs, we've got you covered. For Professor Locks and Doc here on DFSG Plus, we are out of here.